So that February, I totaled my car. I was living with my ex-girlfriend and her sister, and it was like just like a dark time for me. And then I had to get a job because I totaled my car, and then all of a sudden I lost a job because the pandemic happened. It was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like where am I?
Take Off with Scotty, the #1 creative podcast in the world. We have a special guest today, Corie.
Yeah, I'm here.
How you doing today?
Good, not too shabby.
So Corie is a street artist here in Los Angeles. She has murals all across the city. So let's get into that a little bit. So how did you start? Was it since a kid?
Oh man.
Were you always an artist?
This might be the long-winded version.
Okay.
You're like, 40 minutes? Okay. You only got through the first question. So, I've always drawn when I was younger, but I came out here in 2015 to be an artist.
Okay.
Okay. And I came out here only drawing with Sharpie on paper. And I was like, oh, I'm good enough.
Yeah.
Done. And then I came out here and I was like, oh, fuck.
There's
a lot of people that are good, like before I was like, oh, people are like, you're so talented. Well, then you're like a big fish in a little pond. But then you come to LA, which I thought, this is the Mecca. If I was going to go anywhere, it'd be Los Angeles or New York. Right.
Right.
And so when I came out here, I was like, oh shit, I got to adapt quick, And so I just started doing client pieces, like portraits of couples and dogs and, and Sharpie and stuff. But then I was like, I have to learn. I picked up a paintbrush and then I started painting on canvas, and then I picked up a tattoo gun and started, tattooing.
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean?
So
I had to adapt. I had to adapt to a bunch of different mediums for me to survive out here.
So it always evolved. So it started off, with the paper.
Yes.
Then
and I was like so sure that I was like, oh yeah, I'm this good that like someone's gonna just offer me like stupid money, and I was like, yeah, that's not gonna happen.
So
I got kicked down real quick.
So what was that first like slap in the face moment for you, where you're like, I'm not where I need to be. I'm not good enough.
I don't know if it was like something directly to me, but I think it was more observing everyone else that was out here. It's like I came out here with like $700 in my pocket, or to my name. And then the first day I actually drove cross country with my mom, and the first day she left, my car wouldn't start.
Oh,
and
wow.
500 of that went to my car.
So $200.
$200, moved into a 2-bedroom with 6 boys. And after, mind you, you don't know my background, but after, getting my undergraduate at Maryland and then my master's at Georgetown and living alone and, doing a job that, I worked with the Wizards and the Caps in DC.
Okay.
And, and so it was like, how bad do I want this?
Okay.
So it was one of those things where I had to sacrifice a lot. And then, ironically, not until the pandemic is when I hit my stride and I took off.
Wow.
It was like March 2020.
March 2020. Yep. So that's where you gained a lot of momentum. So was that your breakthrough?
I think it absolutely was.
Okay.
But I think it was also, it was weird because I moved, I'm like very into the universe and like
okay, I like it.
And stuff,
like it.
And
what's your sign?
Virgo.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a Capricorn.
Anal. I'm very anal.
Okay.
I'm very specific. I have an acquired taste.
Okay.
And so that February, I totaled my car. I was living with my ex-girlfriend and her sister, and it was like just like a dark time for me, And then I had to get a job because I totaled my car, and then all of a sudden I lost a job because the pandemic happened. And it was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like where am I?
Yes.
Like I'm about to be no, I was 30. So I was 30 years old. I was like, what is going on? Like am I really like was I that optimistic about, trying to chase my dreams, And then so in March when everything happened, I was just like sitting there and I was like, damn, what the fuck am I going to do? Like I have nothing, like all my projects, any projects that I had like mural wise were put on hold. I got let go of the part-time creative job I had because it was like, I literally got hired 2 weeks later. It was like the COVID.
Yes.
Shut like that restaurant, it was for one of the cannabis, like, companies. And it's like, and then they had to let people go like immediately. And I was like, okay, so what the fuck am I going to do? And then that's when I was like in a unique position because I just moved into my brother's house and there's an apartment underneath.
Nice.
He's a doctor. So like, I would see him come home like stressed and upset that these people like all this like shit was happening and like no one was taking it seriously and all this stuff. And I was like, well, maybe I should just paint something.
Yeah.
I don't know, just paint something about like, giving people hope, but also, making them aware of like how serious this fucking is, because it was like the first month, and then so I found a wall on a Tuesday in West Hollywood, and then I finished the mural Wednesday evening, and it was in LA Times Thursday morning.
So did you have to get approval for that wall? How does that work?
Yeah, so I found it actually on a site called Beautify Earth. They match like artists with walls.
Okay, nice.
But it was like I found the wall, and the guy was like, "Hey, I don't have a budget." I was like, "I don't need a budget. I just want you to say okay." And like so it was just like it was, and then that's why the yellow happened. Like I had leftover yellow from a Kobe mural.
Wow.
And I just was like, "Oh, I have 5 gallons of this. Might as well use it." And now the yellow is my thing.
That's your trademark. So let's get back into that. So the yellow, was it in the original design?
No, I fucking hate yellow.
You hate yellow?
Well, now I'm not anymore. Shit. Now I'm like, damn, that's my baby. You know? But I was like, all right, well, what do I have here that I could use? Because I don't want to spend money, So I was like, I had the 5 gallons of yellow with the Kobe project that was put on hold. And then so I used that, and I've always drawn in black and white. Okay. So it was the yellow, and then the black and white, and then that was it.
So where did you find that hope and that silver lining that you're talking about? So that first mural, you said so many things weren't going your way, but you still pushed forward. So where did you find that? Was it your inner self? Was it
I think
your mindset?
That's hard. I think it's probably both. I think it's a combination of things, because I think you come out here and you try and chase your dreams, and not many people survive.
Right.
And they learn that very quickly. I am very stubborn, and I'm competitive, and I will keep touching you, like pointing at you, like pick until you acknowledge me as a person, I think that I was in a stage where I'm like, I'm not going to prove everyone else right. Like I'm still like, and not that my family wasn't supportive, but it was one of those things where like, really, you're going to go out there and be an artist?
Right.
And I'm like, well, you are thinking like I'm going to sell fucking painted shells on the Venice Boardwalk.
They didn't see the big
picture.
You know what
I mean? Like you didn't take into consideration that, I had a great GPA and I went to Georgetown.
Right.
Like, you're not taking into my work ethic. My work ethic is what got me this far.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think it is a mindset, but I also think it's one of those things where I'm always trying to evolve, and I know I'm different from other people, and I want to constantly not remind people of that, but like prove myself right. Where it's like, okay, I want to make it. I want to affect people in a positive way.
That's
and like,
beautiful.
how do I do it? It's going to be art, So it was like, I found hope in myself.
Okay.
And, and honestly, it's one of those things where it's like, it's a reminder for me, all of the things that I write or all the things that I post, it's a reminder for myself, not just other people. I'm like, I have nervous energy. I'm anxious. I have anxiety. I struggle with depression. There's all these things that it's like, maybe on the outside, it looks like that I'm just like this hopeful, like, yeah, go get them. No. I have to constantly remind myself that my thoughts aren't who I am,
Right.
And that's a big thing. So if I could relay that to other people and be like, listen, you're not alone, of course on the outside, I'm like, I look cool as shit, and I am a cool individual, but I'm saying there's a lot that comes with that,
everybody has their personal battle.
Exactly. And so I think it was one of those things where like, what are you going to do, Corie? Just sit here? You're just going to fucking sit here and just like mope? So that's why I was like, no, you can't. And I'm always moving. I'm always fucking moving. I'm always doing something. Maybe I lose myself too much in work, but the only time my brain quiets is when I paint.
Yes. So somebody would see your story as your first mural and then the LA Times article, but they don't understand all that went into that.
No, they don't. They don't at all. Because even it's like, I came out here and, I told you I was downtown. But then I was like, I can't live in a fucking 2-bedroom.
Exactly.
With and my buddy was stationed at Edwards, which is like north, like an hour north. I lived on his couch for a year and a half.
Wow.
I would drive down and Uber for the night. Sometimes be too tired to sleep in my back seat just to make fucking money. And it's like, and I think that's what shook me the first time someone said, congrats on your overnight success. Because I'm like, you don't even know. You don't even know.
But that's what the world thinks.
And it's like, at the outside, it's like, oh, damn, she just got lucky and did this wall. And then it was in the LA Times. Well, I've done a few murals before that. Yeah. It was the perfect timing.
Build up.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it was almost like cosmic, where everything was just coming together. And, hindsight's 20/20. So it's like, why aren't these things happening for me? Why aren't they Well, then when they did, I was like, oh, this is why it didn't happen. Because now I'm the LA Hope dealer.
And now the momentum from the first one has just been crazy, huh?
Yeah, well, I think I'm also, like, told you, I'm a psychopath. Yeah. So it's like, once I saw that it was like,
all you need to see is a little light.
Dude, as soon as I saw it printed,
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going. I'm in it.
Yeah.
You know, so then, after that, so I started doing more murals, but it was like more like, it was right before people really started painting on the boarded up shops. So it was kind of like one of the first ones to spearhead that. I was just like, all right, I'm going to do it,
Yeah.
And then I also did canvases that I just put in every neighborhood around LA. Like, if you're reading this, go home, like in the Drake font, like, all these things where people would be like, oh, I want to take a picture of that, but also listen, And then what I did was, again, psycho, found all of these writers, and then I would reach out to them and basically pitch my story to them. So that's how I got on Mashable. That's how I got on Huffington Post. See, I went at the right time because, the pandemic was everything that they were talking about. And people, it was all negative. So I was like, I know that this is somewhat of a positive story. And so I pitched every single like news outlet I could think of, and that's how I gained some traction PR-wise,
Well, that's a beautiful story, and we are going to take a shot to that.
Now's time to take the shot.
So, congrats on your success.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate it. Much more to go. But
much more to go.
Thank you.
So I can tell you are super competitive.
Mm-hmm.
When you're ready to go. You will break through the door.
Yep.
Passion, grit is what drives you.
Mm-hmm.
Does that go to your sports background?
I think it does.
So you're in the sports industry.
Yeah.
You're working for different sports teams. And where did that come from?
Well, I think I've always been in sports.
Okay.
Like, I always grew up playing soccer and, watching sports. And honestly, it's like, that's how, like, my dad and I were the only way to connect. Where it's like college or sports. That was it, So I think that's also where, when you're 18 and you're like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to pick something for the rest of my life? But I was like, well, I was a jock, So I was like, I'm going to fucking pick sports. I love sports. And I do still love sports. But I think, and again, I have a whole separate fucking podcast on education and, how fucked up it is in a way where it's like, we were set up for this, like, I'm so happy I have my education because it's one of those things where as far as we've come, people look at me and they're like, oh, she's not educated.
Yes.
And I don't want to have $100,000 student loan debt for me to drop that I went to Georgetown for my master's.
Right.
But that's the only thing that its value, has come to value for me at this point. And also, I guess besides what I learned in education, it was what I learned outside of it, living in dorms and growing up and experiencing, partying and, like that's basically what I paid for,
right.
Becoming an adult, And I think so, like what I was saying was like, when you're 18, you have to choose what the fuck you want to do. And so the only thing I could think of was sports. Like I love drawing. I've always loved drawing, but I'm from an East Coast family and very education. Like, my dad was a principal.
Everything's
I was a Spanish teacher. It's very, and so it wasn't even a thought in my mind, first of all, to be an art major, number one. My dad was like, yeah, no, you're not doing that. Number two is to even make money as an artist, And I think at that time, he was just trying to, look out for me in my best interest. But during that time, social media happened, And so now fucking people are making 10 million off TikTok dances, you know what I mean? And I think it was one of those things where maybe in the, early 2000s, that's what you should have done. You should have, done this and then you're going to work your way up. But then when social media happened, changed the game. And, not just, for making money, but just for getting yourself out there. And I know I'm really straying from your first question.
No. I like it.
Damn, I fucked
up. I like it.
But so let me touch on that. So basically, I did sports because I thought that that's what I wanted to do. Once I realized, like once I was in it, and I was like, oh no, and no offense, but it was like way too masculine for me, you know. And I'm very, I'm an activist at this point, I'm and it was very like hegemonic masculinity, like do what and I'm like, oh no. First of all, if a queen had balls, she'd be king. So guess what? That's not gonna fly.
I like that.
You know what I mean? And it was one of those things where I was like, I'm not doing this the rest of my life. And not to get vulgar or anything, but I equate a 9-to-5 job and versus like my art job to having sex with a man and then realizing I was a lesbian. You know what I mean? Where I was like, oh, okay, this is what I'm doing the rest of my life.
Right.
And then experiencing something else like, oh, this is what it's supposed to feel like.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's like the only thing I could like, and obviously you won't understand that. Yeah. But I'm saying that's the only thing I could correlate between the two.
And you're more comfortable in your lifestyle now.
Oh my God, dude.
So would you say
you should see me fucking girly.
would you say that you were in like corporate atmosphere?
Yeah, I was.
Okay.
Yeah, and I hate doing like, I hate wearing business casual. I
Yeah.
hate wearing, anything like that. Like I was like, ugh, I was like suffocating. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I was just like, I felt like almost like Fight Club, just like this mundane, like going to the fucking break room, having coffee. I had coffee so many times, I didn't want to fucking sit at my desk,
Yeah.
And then I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. And then so my friend Scooter was out here, and he was like, I think you really need to come to LA. And I was like, really? And he's like, I'm telling you, Corie, please come to LA.
Mhm.
And then so there was like my position was like a temporary one,
Okay.
and when that ended, I was like, I'm gonna go to LA,
You're gonna go.
and I was in Orlando because I was working with the bowl games, the college bowl games.
Okay.
Packed my car as much as I could, went to LA, and that was August 2015. So I think, again, what I know is very long winded, but my competitiveness definitely comes from the sports realm. But it's also like that's all I'd known growing up,
Right?
And also it's a Virgo thing. I think Virgos are very,
like you don't regret your past.
Fuck no.
You think it's
sometimes I think about, I'm like, I don't even know how I did that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where I'm like, thank God where I am now. Fuck.
Like, you have to go through that to get to
like
where you're at
I
now.
was starting to lose hope.
Okay.
Which is ironic.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, I really think that I'm in this like optimistic phase that like, I don't know, maybe like, everyone's like, follow your dreams and, follow your passion and stuff. And then I was like, maybe like this just isn't for everyone,
Right.
Maybe it doesn't work for everyone. Maybe if you keep going, it just will never end the way that you think it's going to end.
Right.
And that's when, that shit hit.
So you went from corporate America to the LA Hope Dealer.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's sweet. That's a story right there.
I know. And now it's like, now I want you guys, not you guys, but like that, like all the people I work with be like, oh, now I'm going to hire her as an artist and she's going to paint shit in the stadium. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fuck that. I didn't want to like,
yeah.
I don't know. I even went to undergrad and I tutored all the student athletes.
Right.
So it's like I've always been involved. I mean, I also dated a lot of them. You know what I mean? So, I've always been, I had my hand in sports.
Okay.
No pun intended.
So you're an activist.
Yeah.
Can we get into that?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Kind of what drew you to that?
Man.
Have you always had a powerful voice? Did you always speak up?
Think I have always had a powerful voice, but I didn't find my voice until, I came into the limelight. So I've always like thought like, oh, that's not right. I don't understand. You know what I mean? Like, or like things like that.
Right.
And then I think, once the pandemic hit and it was like all about the pandemic, but then, George Floyd happened. And I was like, well, I'm still in the limelight here. And people are looking at me to, not even just like make a message, but like raise awareness. Because what's important to me is that, I mean, it's very hard, being a white person trying to be an advocate because people think, you're like jumping on the bandwagon. And I totally get that. It's like, it's a very unique situation to be in. But then I also think from a white person's perspective, it's like, you guys have been talking and no one's doing shit or like no one's listening. And it's like, so don't you need white people on your corner too to like,
right.
Like to come together and like help you fucking, make this like, I mean, it's never gonna be made right, but you know what I mean? Just like improve conditions.
Right.
So I think once that happened, like I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna just start writing. And then the thing is that the racism and like the pandemic, I was like, where's the overlap? So that's why I came up with racism as a pandemic, which I know it's like obviously not fucking word for word. It's not a sickness.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it was like, it was trying to draw out these major connections between, how it's affecting so many people and it's not, it can't be seen. And you know what I mean? Like seen.
Yeah.
Yep. And so, I kind of just fell into that. And then, obviously I'm a part of the LGBTQIA plus community. Shockingly that I can even say that without, it's like a tongue twister.
Just really quick. So the IA, what does that stand for? Because I only know the LGBTQT plus.
Yeah, there was intersex.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I think the A gets switched out for a few things. Like I think it could be asexual.
Okay.
And then there was also an ally.
Okay.
Like you're you support them.
So
and then I mean plus is like and then
anybody. Okay.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is because like I mean it's a lot.
Yeah, I just think like a lot of people out there they just know like the LGBT.
Yeah, I know.
And we're just it's adding to it. So I want to make sure that
I mean the flag's been updated,
yeah,
everything's been updated, Yeah, so then it was a part, I'm a part of that community. And then it was also, I'm very vulgar.
Okay.
And I talk, and, this is partially touching on activism, but like I do, I'm very sexual and I'm open with that. And, so I think it's also one of those things that I want to be able to say what I think and then kind of like break that. Like, I know it might be shock value, but break that boundary for women where it's like, why can't I know I don't have a dick, but I'm gonna tell you to suck my dick.
Right.
Why can't I say that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like you tell someone don't be a pussy, they're not actually a pussy.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think I try and push toe the line, with what women can say and do too. You know what I mean? Because I still identify as a woman.
Right.
I'm gay, yes, but I'm still a female.
And then what's your race?
I'm white.
A white.
Yeah.
So being a white
Yeah.
lesbian, how is that experience in the world,
Well, shit. I mean,
because I feel like you have a big following, and I think your words are powerful. So does it ever become too much on your shoulders to take on?
I think it becomes too much when, and this is, we're gonna get into like romantics.
Okay.
I think it becomes too much when my social media personality or like how I portray myself.
Your perception.
Because the thing is like I think I am who I am.
Right.
But it's like I do hide my nervous energy. I do hide things that not everyone sees.
Right.
And I think people are intrigued by me and I'm like a mystery. So when people are like, oh shit, I'm gonna get to know this fucking artist, and then before you know it, it's like, oh, but there's other things that come with it. Like she's actually a human, with like anxiety and emotions and obsessive, thoughts. And it's like, so you're just going to constantly break my heart, basically. You know what I mean? Because it's like people are coming to me and like, oh, I want to get to know you. Yes. But then they see me and then like, oh, no. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think
that's learning like what's really there.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the heaviest part because it's a slap in the face to me. Because I'm like, so you just want to know me because of like, oh, I'm this cool LA, artist, and then you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe that's a part of my issue. Maybe it's not that at all, but that's how I always perceive it, And I think that's what really weighs down heavily on me. Because I'm like, what's your angle? Are you trying to climb? You know what I mean? Because I'm not going to bring you to these events that I've worked hard to get to.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like I almost need to find someone in the same playing field. You know what I mean? Like clout based.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh no,
doing something,
we're the same shit.
Something.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what really, and obviously, people talk shit all the time to me, especially on racism things.
Yeah.
Like
there's trolls.
Oh my god, dude, it's brutal. And I think the thing that was unique that I found, because I'm always introspective, where it was like when I taped the Trump Star last summer and put "Make Humanity Great Again."
Oh, that's funny.
And I got fucking destroyed by a bunch of like white men,
right?
But it was all about my physical appearance, like is that a boy or a girl? Which I don't give a fuck what you think,
right?
But when I did if the CDC, even if you're fully vaccinated, the CDC recommends treating black girls with knives the same way you treat white boys with guns. I got backlash from my intelligence, and that's what bothered me more. Because you can talk about me physically. I know what I look like.
Yeah.
And I'm down. You know what I mean? But when intellectually, which again goes back to even someone looking at my tattoos and all this stuff and be like, oh, who the fuck is this bitch? You know what I mean? My intelligence is like when that's questioned, that's what really.
So you pride yourself, like you obviously did undergrad, masters at Georgetown.
Yep.
So you pride yourself on being educated.
Yeah, I do, because I think.
Is that getting raised in a family that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Because I don't think. I mean, honestly, I think my dad would have disowned me. I didn't go to school, but it's also maybe I'm trying to overcompensate for my appearance. Because it's as much as I hate to say that, though, it is something where people tend to take a look at you and you're like, oh, you know what I mean? Where I'm like, you don't even know. Do not judge a book by its cover. Because also it's like when I do these like even racism pieces, I'm going to the Georgetown database and looking at scholarly articles. I'm not looking on fucking Google.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm like, who the fuck? Like, and then you send me like conservative news sites. I'm like, someone that just blog this, like fuck out of here. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, you like.
But that's their goal.
And then I think what bothered me was like, they tell me I'm racist. Or like, I'm pointing out a race problem when there was no race problem. I'm like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
So has that been your biggest challenge? The people, critics?
Yeah, I think, and it doesn't get again, it got to me way more when it was attacking my intelligence.
Right.
You know, or like, you know, making me like, I don't know. And it's one of those things where I have to just get used to. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen way worse.
Where was that moment where you kind of was just like, they're going to say what they are going to say, and I just need to move forward. I can't even focus on that. If I want to achieve what I really want to achieve, that is such a little component of my life.
I think that's hard because then it comes where my competitiveness comes
you
want
to prove them wrong.
Where I'm going to, exactly. Yeah. Where like, I will go toe to toe with you on the fucking Instagram. And then like, you know, my friends are like, Corie, you just need to stop answering because I will keep going, but I know they will keep going because they're trolls. You know what I mean? So I have to be like, all right, you know what? You know, like I got to a point where I was like, if you want to message me separately, we will talk about this one-on-one. Yeah. I'm not doing it. And I can't go
back and forth.
No, because it's like they're constantly just going to say shit to fuck you up.
Right.
You know, and that was the one thing that actually I did like. I did have, I had a few people message me, but I had one guy message me from Germany and he was like, you know, he voice messaged me and he was just saying everything about, you know, LA and the homeless. I was like, first of all, I live here. And I was like, and I will tell you exactly how this happened.
Right.
He's like, really? That's how? And I'm like, yes, I literally witnessed it. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I almost like turned his perspective around. And that, if I can turn someone's perspective around, even one person, then it's all worth it.
It's worth it. So let's not focus too much on the trolls. Yeah, because they'll win. Yeah. You know, if we're talking about them win. Yeah. So let's talk about the people who encourage you. Where do you get your passion from? Where do you get your inspiration from? What keeps you going? What wakes you up in the morning? Kind of what gives you that light?
Ooh, that's hard. I think, you know, I wake up and I look at the news.
Okay.
And I look at, you know, everything that's going on current event wise. Okay. I'm like, okay, so what how can I shake things up? Also, you know, what's bad for your heart is good for your art. So
I like that.
I think when I've been heartbroken several times, it sounds like a lesbian thing to say, but I think, you know, I draw a lot of inspiration from heartbreak.
Okay.
Or even just like current situations that I'm going through, and then you know, I just try and think of things that people are gonna want to, especially with like the CDC pieces. You know, like I did the Free Britney. You know,
right.
And I try and think of things where people are gonna like stop and be like, holy fuck. You know what I mean? Like that was like such good timing.
Right.
You know, so like I try, even if I think of something, I can think of something maybe like 11 p.m. Well, I'm waking up at 5 a.m. I'm cutting that stencil and it's going to be up by 10 a.m.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So I think, you know, inspiration can come from anywhere, but I also think timing is crucial, you know, especially, you know, I mean, look at the pandemic.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then it's like timing has to be really well thought out, you know, because within a week, it could be old fucking news. Right. I mean, it's not old news, but it's like no one's looking for that anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I think that's, you know, I think I just draw inspiration from as many different, you know, perspectives as possible.
Yeah. So let's, so Corie, you move fast. Mm-hmm. You're always probably on to the next thing. Very successful people, once they get to one landmark.
Yeah, I'll never be satisfied.
Unfortunately, they go to the next one.
Yep.
But what will get you to settle down? That's my question.
I don't know. Yeah? I think paying off my student loans.
Okay.
Because I'm like just kind of waiting, like hoarding my money and waiting. And then I think like even just like consistent income with not having to prove myself. Where I'm not at a point obviously where like. I mean, no one's at a point where like Banksy is because he's a fucking but you know what I mean. Like I'm not at a point like Shepard Fairey or you know someone where it's like they have this residual income that they're just going to keep getting, you know, just money on prints and, you know, like licensing and, you know, clothing lines. You know what I mean? It's like, so I think, I don't know. That's hard though, because like I feel like I could be at the top and I'm like, yeah, what's next?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And are you scared of that? Because I feel like that personally too. Like I'm always going to want more.
No, because
and will I ever be satisfied?
No, I don't think you will.
Yeah.
And I think that's just something we have to come to terms with, because the only thing, and again, this is very like hopeless romantic. I think what could slow me down as a person, as a woman, you know, like where I'm like, oh, I found my person, and not like slow me down where I'm like, I'm gonna change my art or like be like what's like or like not do anything anymore, but like someone that's gonna be like, all right, chill out for a second, because the only person I'm gonna listen to is someone that I'm romantically involved with. Right. You know what I mean? Where like my friends say this all the time. I don't give a shit what you say. You know, but if a girl's like, come back to bed, or you know what I mean? I'm like, okay. Yeah, exactly. You know? So I think it's like if I find like a partner or like a teammate, you know, it's different because it'll balance me out a little more. Right. But I'm just alone now, so I'm like, what's next? Where can I go? Yeah. What can I paint? You know?
And how do you define success? So a lot of people put a money value on success. And I always tell people that I think it's, for me personally, I think it's how you impact others. Money has to do with it, but that's not the end goal. So how would you define success?
I think it's hard because I think my first inclination is to define success financially.
Okay.
Because I think, that's how you grow up.
Right.
Want to get a good job and you want to provide for a family and you want to buy a house where it's like, oh, okay, but like someone working a full-time job right now, minimum wage, can't afford a 2-bedroom apartment in the United States. So where are we going here? You know what I mean? Like we're built for failure. So I think people have to rework what success means. Because if I look at other things, I am very successful.
Right.
My career is on the up and up. I have a great support system.
Right.
I have great friends. I have a great family. And I think, I'm guilty of it, but I think a lot of people need to rework or unlearn what success looks like.
I agree.
Because it's like, it's so hand in hand with money, but it's also hard because it's like, we need money to survive and we need money to spread or to spread awareness or to make our, say in my case, like art on a wider level.
Right.
It's like I have passion projects I would love to fund, but I don't have 20 grand
exactly.
to drop.
Yeah.
Like I would love to I would paint this whole fucking city yellow.
Right.
Yellow brick road all the way to the fucking Hollywood sign.
Yeah.
Fuck you mean. So I think you just have to like toe the line. You gotta,
So is your goal financial freedom?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
So to fully work for yourself and to have finance.
And so far, I'm fully working for myself.
Okay.
I just think, it's like I want big money.
Right.
So I want so much money that I could actually fund creatives.
Right.
And give it back and not have to deal with the shit that I had to deal with, coming in. Like, I met with a lot of artists when I first moved here, successful ones, and a lot of them that I came to were like, oh, well, I made money off real estate, or I made money off, like, I sold my intellectual property. We're like, well, that's not helping me because I have $200 to my fucking name.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, and it was like, not that, there's anything wrong with what they did, but I was like, well, how do you, like, there's no book to follow when you have zero money and you just change careers and you want to become an artist.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? There's no, like, this, and this, and then you become a lawyer, like there's nothing like that, for a creative. And I also, I think it's tough also for creatives, and this is a separate thing, but like where we're taken advantage of.
Yes.
And I can't be dealing with that shit.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, you get to paint all day. You don't fucking know what goes into me painting all day. Like I even had someone, and whatever, I'm going to say this anyway, but like I did a commission piece in downtown LA.
Okay.
I just finished yesterday, and he was like, well, when you did it last time, it was $800 for the wall. I'm like, that was 2016.
Right.
Would you ask Shepard Fairey for a print for $20 right now? You know what I mean? Like the whole point
exactly
is it's like you asking someone in medical school to perform heart surgery or a world-class doctor. It's like, are you paying price? Or, what are you more concerned about, price or value? Because
exactly.
I'm value. You know what I mean? And that's why the price is up. And I think it just pisses me off.
So you have to know your worth.
Yeah.
It sounds
you always
have to know your worth.
But I also think you need to get to a point where you can say no. And I'm finally at that point. Because I think it's hard, where you look at things, you're like, fuck, but I could use $500. Or I could use, you know what I mean? And I think you have to gain that confidence and that, not stability, because it's like, that's the only thing that sucks as a creative, because it's like, you don't know, there's no guaranteed paycheck.
You have to find your next job.
15 grand one month.
Mm-hmm.
I can make fucking 2 grand the next month. That's just
a lot of highs and lows.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, that always stresses me out, So it's like, I don't know. I think it's important that people respect creatives way more than they do. And I don't think they do.
Yeah.
And I don't know when they will. And I thought maybe after the pandemic they would, because, I did that piece after the plague came the Renaissance, where in the, when the Spanish, the plague in the early 1900s, it was the plague, and then the art came through and like kind of like saved people. You know what I mean? It was like, that's what kept people sane. So I was like, oh, maybe this is like rewriting, like it's the same shit. We're repeating history,
I don't think I think they take creators for granted because they don't understand the full process. So if you work at a job, you're going to get an assignment and you're going to do one part of the assignment.
Yep.
You're a creator.
Yep.
You're doing it from start to finish.
Yep.
How the execution,
the
how
colors
the
of paint,
colors, everything.
the medium.
So I don't think
using.
people knows what goes into your day to
They don't.
day.
Then it's sad, and that's why I'm like, I don't think they ever will, because even if someone made a documentary about it, they're not gonna take time to fucking watch it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's just one of those things.
So what is your goal here in Los Angeles? Do you so I said you said you want to teach other creators, but what is next? So I know you probably want to do more murals, but what is the next couple goals that you have on your mind?
Oh man. I think, probably obviously doing more murals in Los Angeles, but branching out, start doing things in, say, New York City or Miami,
nice.
or like, where it's like, I want LA Hope Dealer to be well known everywhere.
Right.
I think that's the next step in my career.
Right.
I think that's what I need.
Right.
Even like overseas, that'd be fucking rad.
That's the goal.
Shit.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah, like my doves in Paris. What do you mean?
And let's talk about your doves. So we didn't even get into the murals. So on your murals, you have these doves. What do those symbolize?
Well, I think, the original piece, I had a dove kind of flying out of my coat pocket. And I think I was like, well, I'm not going to draw myself every time.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, that's a little narcissistic.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, well, what can I take from this piece that still like resonates with people? And it was the dove, and it was almost like I found it. Not I found it because I drew it, but I'm saying like I found, like, it was in my brain the whole time. And it like I was waiting for it almost, and I think it was so simple that I was able to just like blast it all over the city,
right?
And it's like easy. It's an easy, like 2 fucking layer stencil done, and now it's recognizable. But I want people to connect with it in a way that maybe they, maybe they don't connect with it the way I connect with it. So like for doves, it's peace, but it's also new beginnings. It's also, it can stand for so many different things.
Yeah.
Like, and like a blank slate.
So could somebody look at it and they could tell that story of what it means to them?
To them.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Like it's very subjective. It's like you can look at a dove, but I don't know how you're going to connect with it.
Right.
And I think, that was, the main.
So is that your like signature on every piece? You'll see a dove.
There's always going to be a dove.
Always a dove.
Uh-huh.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And yellow and a dove.
It's hard because like it's been yellow, but a lot of people are like, well, I don't want yellow in that. Like, okay, well, I'm still going to throw the dove. So at the very least, it's the dove. But if I could get some yellow in there.
Yeah, and moving out of the pandemic, are you still going to have like the sayings,
I think I'm going to have the sayings, but I think it's going to be, even now, it's like I've done just thought-provoking type of things where I'm like, people stop and think, you're like, oh shit. If I could shift the perspective, like I've always said this, but good art makes you think, but great art makes you do.
Right.
So if you could literally, maybe, and I can go, I think an easier example would be going back to racism.
Mm-hmm.
If you say something and you're like, oh, I didn't realize that was racist, but because of my mural, that you're not going to say that anymore, then that's a goal.
Right.
Done. Win. Where it's like, oh, you just thought about like maybe not saying that to someone that might be offensive.
Right.
Done. Perfect.
And one of your huge accomplishments has been you are Woman of the Year for the 26th district. So can we talk about that? That's a huge accomplishment.
Thanks, man. I appreciate
Clap it up for that. So I'm in the presence of the Woman of the Year.
I know.
By the senator, right?
Yep.
So
how crazy.
Did you get a phone call and you're like...
Yeah, actually I got an email. I was like, first of all, this is a fucking scam. I thought it was like for like $20 a month to get a certificate. You save like a print in Africa.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck. But no, it was very real because they called me after and then I was like, oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
And like there was a big list of people and I was like, I am not worthy, but I'm glad that you think so, you know? And so, so now I have what you're invited to, August 13th, the Woman of the Year event at White House in Hollywood. And the senator's going to come and give me an award and all that good stuff. I'm going to have some new pieces up and, maybe talk about a few new projects in the works, Yeah, so it's very exciting. I think things like that just, remind me that I'm on the right path in life, so it's just one of those
So do you ever sit back and pat yourself on the back or do you ever just look back and be like, I did come far and I would look back at this moment and say, wow, I did.
I do, because
Okay.
my friends like make me do it,
Okay,
but
okay.
like I'm not satisfied. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I understand. I understand. Like it's night and day from, say March of 2020 to now. It's fucking night and day. And I don't even remember what like life is like without being the LA Hope dealer.
Right.
But it's also like I'm not satisfied.
Yep.
So I hope that I have friends along the way to always, make me pause and take a step back and be like,
Yeah.
Corey, look at the fuck you've done.
Exactly.
Like I just got to fucking write up in High Times. Fuck you mean?
Oh, wow.
I have my own
And you already
pre-roll.
been in what? LA Times?
LA Times, New
York
York
Times, The Guardian.
Guardian, Huffington Post, Mashable. Daily
Just a couple.
Yeah,
Just a couple.
I still can't fucking get verified. So
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there.
Little by little. One day I'm gonna get that.
Let's get on the other side of the LA Hope dealer. You're huge in the cannabis game.
Mm-hmm.
So
I am.
you have some stuff coming out for that.
Yep. I think it's like it's hard. I think the stigma of cannabis needs to be broken.
Okay.
I think it's one of those things where, I mean, again, I'm from the East Coast. So we're like, oh, these lazy fucking people in the couch. And you know what I mean? Where I'm like, no, here's the thing. I have to fucking smoke. I've smoked every night for probably 5 years to sleep.
Yeah.
I don't smoke during the day.
Yeah.
I can't. I will be fucking dumb.
Right.
But it's like, it's a fucking medicine to me.
Right.
And I think it's important to break those stereotypes of, a stoner, a pothead.
Right.
I am a fucking stoner.
Yeah.
But would you ever guess that from me? Because I'm a fucking psycho. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the only way for me to quiet my brain is painting and smoking.
Yeah. And I'm from the Midwest, and that stigma is just, people think of stoners as lazy, but I see so many productive stoners
and
out
that's
here.
the thing, too. I mean, I wish I was like, I was one of those stoners who like smoke and then like be productive.
Right.
Well, I can't, but I also know myself. So it's like,
so
there
you're
are
self-aware.
people that actually can smoke and do things.
Yeah.
By all means, fucking wake and bake.
Right.
Fuck you mean, if you're more creative, do it. But it's like, there's like that's such that fucking stigma around it where I'm like, no. And then so like, so I partnered with 3C.
Okay.
And we did it's called Dose of Hope. Pre-roll.
Dose of Hope.
And then, so right now, because it was a Pride Month, it was 33% goes to the LGBT Center in Los Angeles.
That's beautiful.
But as, throughout the year, we're going to raise money for different things. So the hope right now is rainbow. But it's going to say, for example, October breast cancer, it's going to be pink. So then 33% is going to go to like a breast cancer. So I want it to evolve. And throughout the year, I actually just pitched them last week to raise money for people that are still in jail for cannabis.
Oh.
With the irony of that bitch, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, I'm going to sell this fucking pre-roll. I'm going to raise money for you guys because what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
So I just try and constantly raise money for different nonprofits or situations because it's like, I don't know. I feel like it's just not enough.
And where can somebody buy this pre-roll?
So there's
they gotta hit the DM.
Actually, it's so funny because I had the call with her today and she was like, I have to send you a new list of all the dispensaries. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you do. For this exact moment would be nice,
Yeah.
But it isn't 3C Farms, which is like, it's not open downtown yet, but in Canoga Park, and there's a few places in Van Nuys and downtown LA and San Diego. It's all the way down to like San Diego. So hopefully it's just gonna be more and more cannabis or dispensaries, that carry that.
And you always kind of had a passion. This was always like on the agenda, or was it kind of opportunity fell on your lap?
It kind of just happened. It was like when I didn't really even smoke when I came out here.
Okay.
I smoked a little bit, but it wasn't like. Again, I think I had the stigma of like, oh, what the fuck? I don't want to be like this like stoner and like not be productive. Where I was like, no, I had to like learn for myself what weed was, like not weed was, but like what what it could do to your body and like how it can benefit you. And I think. Once I came out here, it was like obviously way more common, than it was back east. Like they're like I feel like they're like fucking like 4 years behind us.
Right. Yeah.
Like
I do. I think
I come home. I'm like, is this 2017?
Yeah.
Where am I?
It's so slow.
I'm like, what the fuck? You guys are still like bitching about cannabis?
Right.
We're about to fucking decriminalize mushrooms. The fuck? I'm like, before they know, you know what I mean? Like, and by the way, try some mushrooms. The fuck?
Exactly.
Yeah, that'll really just like.
Yeah.
Get you creative.
So we're gonna get in a section now where I'm gonna pull up one of your Instagram posts and you're gonna explain it.
Oh shit.
Okay.
So that's good.
So big dick energy. It looks like a black background with big letters saying big dick energy. Mm-hmm. And I think the spray is coming out of that area. So this is a sick picture. Downtown Los Angeles, keep it swinging. So explain this.
Yeah, so the there's a PR company that works behind there, and it's female run. So we were talking about like just like female empowerment, and it's like, just like owning your confidence and without being cocky, and that, I mean, to me that's what big dick energy is. Right. It's like, again, it comes from like, you don't have to have if you have a big dick, you're gonna walk like you have a big dick, right. And so it's like, but you don't necessarily need to have a big dick to to have that confidence. Mm-hmm. So we came together and talked about even doing like, so that's a Barbie font, so we did a touch of like femininity. Yeah. It's like, we can own this shit, like women can have big dick energy too, just like men, I like that. That's kind of, again, it's one of those things where, we're trying to break the boundaries of what women can say and do. And, that I could think I pretty much captured it. Yeah.
And this has gotten a lot of good feedback for you?
Yeah. Honestly, it was hot pink before with white lettering. So this is the second time I did it. I switched it to black in the gradient.
Yeah. Which one you like better? Or
well, it's hard because originally it was pink, but the sun hits so like hot right there that it kind of just made it like a fluorescent red, and then people obviously kept tagging
right.
So it's easier for me to upkeep when it's black. It's like if someone tags this, I can just paint it black again. Right. Versus like a fucking, a hot pink.
Right. And let's get into a couple more. So racism is a pandemic. You kind of touched on this already a little bit. Yep. So
that was a
Juneteenth post, it looked like.
Yeah, that mural was like maybe like a week after George Floyd.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's actually the same garage door.
Oh,
same garage door. And we just had this she basically wanted someone to paint something, and I was like, okay, well, I'll do it for free, but I have to be able to paint what I paint. And then actually we came out with the shirts, Racism of a Pandemic, and then all the proceeds went to LA Can, which is like to support, like in downtown LA, support like racial injustice.
Yeah, and I see the dove to the top right. So
come on, dude, I had to.
I had to. And then I will go to one more. So even if you are fully vaccinated, the CDC recommends, let me get off those tags, you treat black girls with nice the same way you treat white boys with guns. So I see that this got over 8,000 likes and 645 comments.
Half the comments were me fighting back. So. Yeah. So that really fucked me up. It was a lot. I think that's when I was not prepared.
Okay.
For the backlash that I got, because it wasn't trying to be so specific to two situations. It was more to be like, take a step back and see how black people are treated, and see how white people are treated by police.
Right.
But they were like nitpicking, like Kyle Rittenhouse got, I'm like, no, you're not. You're missing. I was like, I just kept saying, keep taking a step back.
Right.
Like you're being like very like, toe to toe. I'm like, no, keep taking a step back. Even though they say something, I'm like, keep taking a step back.
Right.
Why are they like this?
Right.
Why, even if something is like, why was she in foster care?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like systemic racism.
Right.
Why? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just so many different things where why is he handed fucking water, but she's immediately fucking shot? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I just don't understand. Like, and then the of course the fight was like, well, she was about to stab someone or something. Yeah. I understand. I understand the specifics of each situation. Hence why I had to fucking research all of this.
Yeah.
Shit. But I was like, you're missing the entire point, And this is when people were like, well, you're making it racism. You're about race when it's not. I'm like, okay, well.
And I think that's the problem with like the George Floyd, this incident, a couple other incidents, that I feel like people, they don't look at the full picture.
No, they don't.
And
I don't think they can.
Yeah.
I honestly think sometimes that I'm like, we're not going to agree because you can't expand your brain that much.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that makes me worried for the future. You know what I mean?
And they always try to justify it. Always. Or excuses.
Yep.
Even with the George Floyd, is like, why do we even need to justify it?
Well, even, I mean, I've gotten comments on this one where it was like, I've lived here my whole life and I'm not white, and you're just going to come in here. And I'm like, and that's when I said, I was like, yeah, but don't you need white voices to help you make this change? And they never responded. Right. So I'm like, what the fuck? I'm not trying. Like, you think I want all this backlash?
All right. And then we'll go to one more. Your heart is free. Have the courage to follow it. So this is beautiful to me. So
yeah. It well, apparently it's from Braveheart, and I didn't realize that.
Didn't know that either.
But I also got it tattooed on my back when I was 21. And I think, after this was, I painted this maybe like 2 months after the first one, so like I already, yeah, a month. So, no, 2 months. And then, so I kind of got the rhythm of like, or like the stride of, my career, not career, but, LA Hope Dealer. So it was starting to take off. And I think that's when it really hit me where I was like, oh shit, like your heart is fucking free.
Right.
And I did have the courage to follow it. So it was like almost like a living testament for me, where I was like, no, I hope people read this. Right. I hope they do the same shit that I did.
Right. So what is the LA Hope Dealer?
Like in general?
No, like you. Who are, like, what is that mean to you? Like when people call you that, what do you think that represents?
I really, I hope that I could be a living, breathing example of following your dreams.
Okay.
I hope that, I could provide people with motivation to keep going. That it's like if she could do it, I could do it, kind of thing.
Right.
And I hope that people take that away from LA Hope Dealer.
Yeah.
But I also want to couple it with all these major projects. I want to be able to give back something to the community.
Right.
Because I think that's important. I think too often that people are, set out for greed and especially in this day and age.
Right.
Where I'm like, no, I think that people should still.
Yeah.
For example, with Jeff Bezos going to fucking.
Yeah.
We're like, you're underpaying your employees and you're overworking them, but that's good that you could pay $2.5 million a minute to go to fucking space in a giant dick. Like fuck off, dude.
Yeah.
And it's like just shit like that where
he has little dick energy.
Literally, I don't even know if he has. I think it's one of those. Yeah, I mean, like his wife is or his ex-wife has done way more than he ever will for the community.
Mm-hmm.
And just giving back. And I think it's important for people to know that I want people to have faith in humanity.
Right.
And I don't think there's many people that will restore faith in humanity, but I hope I'm one of them.
I think you will be.
Yeah.
So you're very inspirational. I think this will come across as very inspirational. So. But to that young, creative girl out there in the world, what would be some advice you tell her?
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
You're not weird as fuck.
Okay.
Like I think it's one of those things where I thought something was wrong with me the whole time. Where I'm like, I was in the popular crowd, but like I didn't feel set. Like I was like, okay, yeah, and I was like, I just felt always so disconnected at some point. Like even being like artsy. It's kind of like you're like the weird you're like the weird fucking artsy like
right.
person, you know what I mean?
Right.
No, that's fucking cool.
Yeah,
own that shit. And I think it's really, and this is so cliche, but like to stay true to yourself because it's hard for me. People gaslight all the time. They make you question yourself. And it's one of those things where it's like, you really need to look. It's always easier for someone to point outward than inward.
And I like that.
And it's one of those things where, I know I'm like full of fortune cookies.
No, this is good.
Fortune cookie things. But it's one of those things where it's way easier for someone to point the finger outward. And I think maybe I point the finger inward too much, and I think that's a downfall of mine, but I also think it will help other people in the future because I want like girls to know like, okay, you're hard on yourself, be gentle,
right.
And also, appreciate your values, like instead of like someone else being like, oh no, this is how it's supposed to be. We're like, oh shit. Like, don't negate everything that you thought because someone else came in. Who the fuck is that person?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Know yourself and be confident in yourself and the things that you stand for. And I think that's probably the most important. I don't know if I think some people will never, believe in themselves.
So when did you stay true to yourself? Like did you make the full transition to
I think
come
out? I don't think I'm there yet. I think I'm constantly trying to remind myself, even like in a romantic setting, it's like, oh, it's my fault.
Yeah.
It's my fucking fault. We're like, no, my feelings are valid.
Right.
Why is that those person's feelings way more valid than mine?
Right.
When I've known myself for 31 years.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm going to take this fucking person's point of view over my own? No. So I think it's always going to be a work in progress. And I think it's going to be a work in progress for everyone. I don't think you're going to get to a point where you're like, oh, I fully believe in myself. I think you're always going to doubt yourself. But I think if you're cognizant of it and you can catch yourself and you can remind yourself, almost like talk yourself down to, where you need to be, then I think you're good.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And then what's next for you?
Paint the city yellow.
Paint the city.
No, I mean,
but literally though.
Literally, I'm trying. some exciting projects coming up, and
Okay.
I think I want to continue to make that that business model where I raise money throughout the year with different nonprofits,
Right.
and I want to be able to, just constantly give back and be that living example of inspiration for
Right.
people. Going against the grain, following
Yeah.
your passion and the path that you believe in. So
Okay. And
day
then
by day.
looking at that camera or that camera, what is any shout outs? You have something going August 13th?
August 13th, Woman of the Year event at Noya House in Hollywood off Sunset. And then I have what else do I have? Oh, well, that's not set in stone. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
Don't break it on
I
this
forgot.
podcast.
I
Yeah.
can't jinx it.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that's a big thing, but there's always big pieces coming out soon in LA. Always.
Yeah.
Always
Yeah.
planning something big.
Well, I'm super proud of you. I think
Thanks,
Cam
man.
has a presentation for you.
This is like a whole fucking mood right here.
Yeah. The fur. Yeah. That's some Diddy vibes right there.
That's actually at Noy House.
Oh
So
wow.
look at that. That's
Yeah.
full circle. I love
Um.
this.
Yeah, and
Brilliant.
you're an inspiration, and you're touching millions of people around the world. So keep up
Shit.
the great
Thanks,
work,
man. I
and
appreciate that.
we're glad we have you on.
I'm always here. I'll talk another 3 hours. If you want
Yeah.
to,
No, I definitely want to do this again.
Hell yeah.